When my husband was promoted and transferred to Beijing, he was permitted to bring his wife and children. He took 2 people with him. One was our son, Xingwen, and the other was Jiang Yunqi, an educated youth he had met during his time in the countryside. Xingwen was the only male heir to carry on the Jing family line, so of course he had to take him. Jiang Yunqi was his cherished one, his first love. She was in poor health, and without his care in the countryside, she wouldn't fare well. Only I was left out of Xingziyu's considerations. He said to me, "A country woman like you would never adjust to city life." Jiang Yunqi and I, we were both born in Beijing. She needs this opportunity more. I'll take her with me this time. When I get the chance later, I'll come back for you. In my past life, I cried, I made a scene, I fought back. All I got in return was my husband's silent treatment and my son's contempt. I waited in anguish my whole life, sending letter after letter. In the end, I turned to dust without ever seeing Xingziyu come for me. In this life, I have finally seen the light. Why wait for a man? The college entrance exams are about to be reinstated. I'm going to get to Beijing before he does. I kept only 1 hen for eggs and sold all the rest, the ones we'd been saving to nourish Xingziyu, to raise some money. Auntie Lu from the village teased me. Shin Xiuyan, you're about to follow your husband to Beijing. Are you planning to sell everything you can't take with you? Don't forget to write to us once you're in Beijing. Make sure to come back and visit us often. I just smiled and said, whether he'll take me or not is still up in the air. Nothing's certain yet. In my past life, when I found out Xingziyu had been promoted and transferred to Beijing, I was overjoyed for a long time, thinking he would surely take me with him. I accepted all the congratulations from the villagers with genuine pleasure. Later, when I was left alone in the village, everyone quietly tried to find out the reason. I put away the money I got from selling the chickens, saving it to buy books for myself. Upon returning home, I could hear the sound of reading coming from inside the house. Xingziyu was teaching his son, Xingwen, to recite poetry. He wore glasses, had a slender build, and his face was etched with a scholarly air. It had been so long since we last met in my previous life that I had completely forgotten what Xingziyu looked like. What's more, I couldn't seem to recapture the feelings I once had for him. Xingziyu was the most educated among the educated youth in our village. He always insisted that his son master both practical skills and cultural knowledge. A smart person like Xingziyu excels at everything he does, which is precisely why he was promoted and transferred to Beijing. Xingziyu was born in Beijing, and his parents still live there. When he was sent down to the countryside 7 years ago, he came to our little village and immediately took a liking to me, the village head's daughter. Ever since he was sent to the countryside, his dream has been to one day return to Beijing and settle down for good. Right after we got married, Xingziyu said he would return to Beijing one day, and when that time came, he'd take me to see Tiananmen Square and watch the flag-raising ceremony. My little swallow will fly to Beijing with me, to help him achieve his dreams sooner. I took on all the household chores. I even did most of the field work to earn work points. When people mocked Xingziyu for living off his wife, I was the first to get upset. I told them my man was going to take me back to Beijing one day, but it's laughable to think about it. This was just Xingziyu's excuse to get out of hard work. After all, in neither his past life nor this one did he ever intend to take me with him. He said, swallows were never meant to fly far. The person sitting nearby reading a book was Jiang Yunqi. Her eyes crinkled with a smile even when she was silent, her whole face glowing with youth. Not like me, my skin, weathered by sun and wind, was already etched with fine lines. She arrived in this village just 2 years ago, in the 6th year of my marriage to Xingziyu. To be honest, she never did anything to hurt me, nor did she go out of her way to make trouble for me in private, but in my past life, I was always convinced she had stolen my husband and son away, and I never gave her a kind look. She was holding a plate of steaming pastries, feeding them to my son, brother Xing. Xiaowen has been studying for ages. Let him have a bite to eat and take a break. All work and no play, you know. Xingziyu never lets me have a say in disciplining the child, but he allows Jiang Yunqi to get involved. I've said something similar before when I saw how hard our son was studying, but Xingziyu just snapped at me. What do you know? Stay out of how I raise my child. If he doesn't study hard, what's he going to do? End up like you, a country bumpkin for life. Yet, Xingziyu now listened to Jiang Yunqi and allowed their son to take a break. The boy was delighted, praising the pastry as Jiang Yunqi fed him. This is so delicious. Thank you, Auntie Yunqi. Xingziyu's voice was full of tenderness. You've really been working so hard. I gave a bitter smile. I was the one who got up before dawn to make those pastries, while Jiang Yunqi merely warmed them up. Yet, both my husband and son only remembered her kindness. In the past, I would have stormed in angrily, desperate to prove myself and tell them that I was the one who made the pastries, but now, looking at them felt like looking at strangers. I felt absolutely nothing. Perhaps I had been standing at the door for too long. Because Jingziyu noticed me, Jingziyu's gaze towards me was complicated, his mouth opening as if to speak, yet the words seemed to catch in his throat. It suddenly dawned on me that Jingziyu should have already submitted. The list of the three of them returning to the capital by now. After a long hesitation, he finally told me. I remembered from my past life. When I first learned this news, I had a huge fight with him. In the heat of the moment, I even blurted out that Jiang Yunxi was the other woman, which earned me a slap from Jingziyu. My silence made Jingziyu think I was unwilling. I know I promised to take you to Beijing, but you're just a country woman who only knows farming and raising chickens. You'd never fit in there. Yunxi and I were both born in Beijing. She's a much better fit to go back with me. I'll take her with me this time, and I'll come back for you when I get the chance. Jiang Yunxi bit her lower lip, looking utterly pitiful. Brother Jing, please don't argue with your wife because of me. It's fine if I don't go back to Beijing. If your wife really objects, I can just live in seclusion here for the rest of my life. I can manage on my own. It's just that I miss my mother little, seeing that I still wouldn't speak. Jingziyu began to grow impatient. Don't be so selfish. Opportunities to go to Beijing don't come often. If Yunxi misses this chance, it will be very difficult for her to get another one. I know you've always held a grudge against Yunxi, but our relationship isn't as sordid as you imagine. It's completely innocent. Don't be so willful. My son, Xingwen, crossed his little arms and scolded me with a maturity beyond his years. Mom is so selfish. You were born in the countryside, so why won't you get the chance to return to the city to Auntie Yunxi? Only an educated person like Auntie Yunxi deserves to go to Beijing with us. Mom, couldn't you just wait until next time? Why do you have to compete with Aunt Yunxi for you? I scoffed. My son had probably forgotten that he, too, was born in this small village, and even came from the womb of a country woman like me. Moreover, after my husband and son left in their previous lives, they never came back. My son only sent me 2 letters in the first few months after he left. After that, he fell silent, just like Xingziyu. It wasn't until word got out that I was dying that my son, Xingwen, finally came back to see me, just the once, but he wasn't here to see me off. He'd heard I was on my deathbed and came back specifically to get the land and property deeds, to claim the family house as his inheritance. Staring at the ugly, twisted faces of Xingziyu and Xingwen, I slowly began to speak. What's with all the fuss? As far as I can tell, I haven't said a word since I walked in, and yet you're already laying into me. Xingziyu also felt he might have come on a bit too strong. He pursed his lips, trying to think of an excuse. I didn't wait for them to say anything else and agreed to the proposal right away. Xingziyu was stunned, unable to fathom why I had agreed so readily, but his joy quickly washed away any lingering suspicion. The three of them embraced, weeping with happiness as if they were the only real family. There, I had no time for them. I went inside, locked the door, and shut myself in my room. Xingziyu thought I was angry. He told his son, Xingwen, not to bother me, believing I wasn't truly upset and that I'd come around on my own after a couple of days of being left alone. But the real reason I shut myself away was to study, because in just a few months, the national college entrance exams were going to be reinstated. These days of secluded study have left me feeling incredibly lighthearted and free. I no longer have to worry about what to cook each day, what clothes my husband and son should wear, or what they've been praising Jiang Yunxi for. Freed from the lifetime of aches and pains from my past life's half-century of toil, my days now consist of earning just the basic work points, with all my remaining time devoted to learning. Contrary to what Jingziyu disdainfully believes, I'm not some illiterate fool. I've always been quick-witted since I was a child, and my academic performance was consistently excellent before I got married. It's just that after getting married, I was so caught up with family life that I gradually let my studies fall by the wayside. In my past life, after they left, I did regret not continuing my education. I even wondered, if I had been an educated person too, would Jingziyu have taken me with him? So, I never really gave up on studying. I worked through the college entrance exam questions year after year, but by then, life had worn down my edges, and the thought of actually applying to university never crossed my mind. I just thought, if one day Zhang Yu and my son came to take me to Beijing, I mustn't embarrass them. But I ended up waiting a lifetime. Things were easy for me, but not for Zhang Yu. After that day, we naturally started sleeping in separate rooms without me working for them day and night. Their quality of life took a nosedive. Jingziyu knew he was in the wrong, though. He thought making them suffer was my silent retaliation, when in truth, I simply had no time for them. The lure of returning to Beijing made them grit their teeth and bear it, refusing to say a single extra word to me. Then one day, my son finally couldn't take it anymore and came to me on his own. Mom, I've learned to recite Song of the Pipa Player. I was a bit puzzled as to why he suddenly came to me with all this, and was just about to brush him off with a simple got it, seeing the look of pure delight and anticipation on Jing Wen's face suddenly reminded me of how, in my past life, I would often check in on his studies no matter what he had learned. I would always praise him and ask him to give me a little demonstration. Back then, Jingwen would always put on a resigned expression. After flawlessly showing off his new skill, he'd add, "This is all advanced knowledge. Even if I explained it to you, Mom, you wouldn't understand." But I didn't have time to keep humoring him, listening to him recite those ancient poems I could memorize after hearing them just a few times. I nodded and said flatly, keep up the good work." Not getting the response he'd hoped for, my son was furious. He shot me a glare and ran off. He ran right into Jingziyu. Jingziyu overheard our conversation and clearly disapproved. "He's still young," he said. "You should encourage him more." I shot back impatiently. "Wasn't it you who said praising him too much would make him arrogant? You told me to stay out of his education." My retort left Jingziyu speechless. Our son, Xingwen, puffed up with anger and shouted, "Mom is so uncultured. I'm going to find Aunt Yunqi. She knows everything and is 100 times better than Mom." In my past life, words like that from my son would have left me heartbroken and in tears. I would have even resented Jian Yunqi for her shamelessness, for stealing my husband and my son. But now, my heart was utterly still. Without waiting for Jingziyu and our son to leave, I turned and went. Back inside, I still had some practice problems to correct. As the days went by, I had the exam material completely memorized. That day, just after finishing my studies, I stretched and decided to go find Jingziyu. A few days ago, the higher-ups learned that Jingziyu had gone to Beijing without taking his wife, so they made a special trip to the house with some colleagues to inquire about it. I happened to come out for a drink of water and overheard Jingziyu saying with feigned righteousness, "Jian Yunqi is an intellectual. Bringing her back to Beijing would be more beneficial for her personal development and even for the nation's progress. In the face of duty to one's country, my own small family is insignificant. My wife also fully supports my decision." The leadership was deeply moved upon hearing this and immediately decided to grant me a subsidy. I didn't call Jingziyu out on it, because I really needed that subsidy. With that money, I'd have more than enough to cover my exam fees. By my count, the subsidy should have been approved by now. But after looking all over, there was no sign of Jingziyu or Jingwen. They'd probably gone to see Jian Yunqi again. I just shrugged, figuring I'd go ask Jingziyu for the money next time. Just then, Jingziyu and Jingwen ushered Jian Yunqi into the house. Jian Yunqi was dressed in stylish new clothes, adorned with a gleaming gold bracelet and gold earrings. Upon seeing me, my son deliberately exclaimed loudly in praise of Jian Yunqi, "Auntie Yunqi, you look absolutely stunning, just like a fairy from heaven, not like Mom. Even if you gave her such beautiful jewelry, it would be a waste." I looked at the jewelry Jian Yunqi was wearing. None of it was cheap. Jian Yunqi couldn't possibly have that kind of money. Jingziyu must have paid for it. Suddenly, it dawned on me. I rushed up to Jingziyu, pointed at the jewelry on Jian Yunqi, and demanded furiously, "Where did you get the money for all this?" Seeing my anger, Jingziyu seemed to take a secret, perverse pleasure in it. "What's all the yelling about? I see Jian Yunqi as a little sister. What's wrong with buying her some jewelry? Don't be jealous. I bought you a gold ring too. People give rings for weddings abroad, you know." I slapped the pitifully small ring out of Jingziyu's hand. "That was my money. What gives you the right to spend it?" Jingziyu cursed under his breath, calling me a crazy woman and thinking I was making a mountain out of a molehill. "This money is in your name, but it was only given because I was promoted to a leadership position in Beijing. How can you claim it as your own? I can spend it however I see fit, and you have no right to tell me what to do. Besides, you can live perfectly well in the village without this money. But if Yunqi returns to Beijing without these valuables to her name, she'll be looked down upon." I looked at the self-righteous Jingziyu, feeling utterly disappointed in them. Either return the money, or have her take off all that jewelry and give it back to me. Otherwise, I'll report this to the higher-ups. This is capitalist extravagance. Let's see how you plan on returning to Beijing then. Jian Yunqi's eyes welled up with tears as she immediately began taking off the jewelry. "Brother Jing, I told you I really don't need these. Please give them back to your wife." Jingziyu was hopping mad. "You vicious woman. Can't you stand to see Yunqi happy for once? I bought you things too. What more do you want?" My son, Xingwen, joined his father in calling me wicked, saying he'd never speak to me again no matter how much they cursed at me. I refused to budge an inch. Jian Yunqi was more terrified than anyone of not being able to go to Beijing under my threat. She tearfully returned all the jewelry to me, even slipping in a few extra dollars, but jewelry couldn't be used as cash, so in the end, I had to ask my parents for money to scrape together the exam fees. After that day, Jing Ziyu and Jingwen started giving me the silent treatment. Jing Ziyu's final ultimatum was that if I didn't apologize to Jiang Yunqi, I wouldn't get to see them even once before they left. I couldn't wait for the day they were leaving to hurry up and arrive, because the day Jing Ziyu was leaving just so happened to be the very day of the National College entrance exams. I packed my bags early, the day before they were set to leave. The moment I stepped outside, I ran into Jing Ziyu taking Jingwen out for the night. Jing Ziyu's expression changed when he saw me carrying my bundle. "Where are you going at this hour?" Jing Ziyu grabbed my arm. I was annoyed inside, but kept a straight face. "I packed a few clothes for you in advance. Take them when you go to Beijing." Jingwen rubbed his eyes and said dismissively, "Mom, these clothes are all old. Dad said he'd buy me new ones when we get back to Beijing. I don't want these rags." Jing Ziyu seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, then looked a bit guilty. "Get a good rest tonight, don't bother packing. We'll just buy new ones when we get to Beijing." Once I was sure they had gone back inside, I shouldered my bundle, unlatched the bolted gate, and slipped away into the night. Since the National College entrance exams were always held in the provincial capital, I had no choice but to catch the earliest bus in the pre-dawn hours. Even on the bus, I kept reviewing my notes. I knew my only real advantage was the memory of a lifetime I'd already lived. I remembered the questions from that first year's exam with perfect clarity. If I failed this time, I knew I might never get another chance. I have no choice but to fight with my back to the wall. That afternoon, Jing Ziyu stood at the doorway, looking out, but there was still no sign of Shin Chuyan. Jingwen ran out of the house, his face full of urgency. "Dad, why aren't we leaving yet? Didn't we agree to go to Aunt Yunqi's first to help with her luggage?" A strange heaviness settled in Jing Ziyu's chest. "Your mother isn't back yet. We should at least let her know before we go." In the distance, a figure approached. Jing Ziyu rushed forward eagerly, only to find upon drawing closer that it wasn't Shin Chuyan. "Brother Jing, I saw you hadn't arrived yet and wondered if something had held you up, so I came to check." There was an implied meaning in Jiang Yunqi's words, but a quick glance around revealed no sign of Shin Chuyan. "Brother Jing, why aren't you leaving yet? Did you and your wife have a fight?" Jing Ziyu frowned. "A fight? No, your sister-in-law went out and hasn't come back yet. We'll wait for her to return before we leave." Jiang Yunqi glanced anxiously at the time and said softly, "Brother Jing, do you think your wife is avoiding a painful goodbye? Is that why she's hiding?" Jing Ziyu fell silent. Shin Chuyan was indeed afraid of goodbyes, seeing that they finally had a chance to return to Beijing and they weren't even cherishing it. Jiang Yunqi couldn't help but urge them on. "Let's go, Brother Jing. Don't wait any longer. Getting to Beijing now is more important than anything. Don't you want to go back?" Jing Ziyu felt deeply unsettled as he looked at Jiang Yunqi, who was usually so gentle and patient. Jiang Yunqi had never spoken such disrespectful words about Shin Chuyan before. On the contrary, she would always advise him to be more patient with her, and Shin Chuyan was so devoted. Even when he was sometimes impatient with her, she would still give her very best to him and their son. She was never like other wives who were always bickering. She was efficient in everything she did and kept their home spotlessly clean. Apart from not being able to discuss poetry and literature with him, he had lived a very content life in all other respects over the years. "When the opportunity arises, I'll come back and bring Shin Chuyan to Beijing as well. I'll take her to see Tiananmen Square, which she's always longed to visit." But now he really had to leave. If he didn't go soon, he would miss the last bus to the provincial capital. Jing Ziyu left a letter containing his parents' address in Beijing, telling Shin Chuyan that if she ever missed them, she could write to them there. The bus was pulling out of the village just as I was walking out of the exam hall. It wasn't until he arrived in Beijing that Jing Ziyu truly realized how good Shin Chuyan had been to him. Back in the village, Shin Chuyan had always taken care of everything for them and never let them run short of pocket money. Money was tight for Jing Ziyu on the journey. He had to prioritize Jiang Yunqi and Jingwen, going hungry himself for 2 full days. In his moments of hardship, his thoughts would always turn to Shin Chuyan, but those lean days only lasted a short while. Once in Beijing, Jing Ziyu took his son back to his parents' home. They weren't wealthy, but life there was a world better than in the village. Jing Ziyu had initially intended to write a letter to Shin Chuyan to let her know he was safe, but he kept putting it off day after day, and always forgot. Jingwen was immediately dazzled by all the different toys in Beijing and promptly forgot all about writing a letter. But it wasn't long before Jingwen started fussing and saying he missed his mother. Jingwen sobbed, "Dad, they all call me a country bumpkin. No one wants to play with me." Back in the countryside, their son would always join Jing Ziyu in calling Shin Chuyan a country bumpkin. Yet, after arriving in the city he had always dreamed of, he became the one people referred to as the country kid. Back in his old school, the curriculum was simple. and Jingwen consistently ranked first in his class, but after moving to Beijing, the pace of learning accelerated. Jingwen struggled to keep up, finding it hard to cope with such a drastic shift. Jingziyu was also worn out, both physically and mentally, by the demands of his new job back in Beijing. Having been so well looked after by Shen Qiuyan all those years in the countryside, he found himself unaccustomed to doing things on his own. If you're falling behind, just work harder. How come everyone else can learn it but you can't? You must have gotten your stupidity from your mother. Don't get into conflicts with the other students. It's not like the countryside here. Just mind your own business and no one will say anything about you. Jingwen protested indignantly, but mom taught me before that if someone bullies me, I should fight back right away. Jingziyu was stunned. He remembered when he first went to the countryside, someone had deliberately made fun of him. He had never encountered such blatant malice before and stood there frozen, at a loss for how to retort. Yet, Shen Qiuyan was the type to roll up her sleeves and argue with several men on his behalf. Jingziyu suddenly grew flustered and irritable, lashing out at Jingwen in a furious rage for the first time. A real man shouldn't be such a crybaby. It's disgraceful. You're not a country bumpkin anymore. From now on, you are not to mention your mother ever again. Jingwen cried even louder. Dad, does mom not love us anymore? Why hasn't she written to us for so long? It suddenly dawned on Jingziyu that he hadn't received a single letter from Shen Qiuyan since arriving in Beijing. Logically, Shen Qiuyan should have written to them as soon as she got the address. The fact that not one letter had arrived after all this time was definitely strange. Jingziyu wondered, had he been in such a rush that he'd written the address wrong, or had he overestimated Shen Qiuyan? Maybe she simply didn't know how to send a letter. The more he thought about it, the more plausible it seemed. After all, Shen Qiuyan's family had lived there for generations, and there had never been a need to send letters. It was perfectly normal that she wouldn't know how. So, Jingziyu swallowed his impatience and coaxed Jingwen. It's possible mom doesn't know how to send a letter. Since you miss her, how about we write her one? We can teach her how to write and mail it. Jingwen nodded. By the time they mailed that first letter, I had already set foot in Beijing. When I got home after the exams, the room was empty, but I only felt a sense of relief. I saw the letter they left for me, but I didn't bother reading it carefully. It was probably the same as last time, just a receive-only address with no way to send a reply. I suspect it was because I wrote too often in the past that they gradually stopped responding. I casually used the letter to wipe the fine dust off the table, crumpled it up, and tossed it into the slop bucket. Only my parents knew I went to take the exam. After finishing, I didn't make a fuss about it and just went about my work as usual, but everyone in the village thought I had left that day with Jingziyu and the others. Seeing me come back alone this time, they all started asking questions, both openly and discreetly, about what had happened. Oh, I have contacts in the city. I heard that from the very beginning. That kid Jingziyu's application didn't include Shen Qiuyan at all. It was that educated youth, Jiang Yunqi. Really? I heard someone say before that they saw Jingziyu in the county town with that woman buying jewelry. I was thinking, he hardly ever works, and all the family money is earned by Shen Qiuyan. Where would he get the money to buy someone jewelry? And a whole pile of it. I didn't believe a word of it back then. The auntie sighed with regret, as if lamenting that she had missed a crucial piece of gossip. I overheard the group of aunties gathered at the village entrance again, deep in conversation about the usual neighborhood drama, so engrossed they didn't even notice me approaching. It's true, my sudden interjection startled them all. It was a bit awkward hearing them gossip behind my back, but having grown up here, I know they were just making conversation in their spare time, with no ill intent to satisfy their curiosity. I told them the whole story from the beginning, starting with Jingziyu's decision not to take me to Beijing. Soon, the aunties were all on my side, joining me in cursing out Jingziyu. Then, a neighbor who's always been kind to me suddenly asked, "But didn't you leave with them that day? I didn't see you around for a few days afterwards." I smiled and said I had some business to take care of. Everyone had heard about the huge news of the college entrance exams being reinstated, but in our little village, no one even considered taking them. They all thought the exams were something only educated city folks did. Not only was it a long journey, but there was also a 50-cent registration fee, so I didn't plan on saying anything until the results came out. After that, I just kept my head down and worked, doing my job and earning my work points. Some people jumped in to defend me, while others, fueled by past jealousy, couldn't resist taking a few jabs. That all changed the day the college entrance exam results were released. After checking my score, my parents were overcome with joy and wept. When they heard I needed money for the exam, they were hesitant, but since it was the first year the college entrance exams were reinstated, they figured the experience itself was what mattered most. My little swallow needs to weather more storms. To my utter astonishment, I actually passed. My parents wanted to follow the old tradition and host a 3-day feast for the whole village. I thought it was far too extravagant and tried to talk them out of it, saying times have changed and we should keep things simple. In the end, my parents happily went to the supply and marketing cooperative, exchanged for several bags of candy, and handed them out to every household in the village. Immediately after, the phone at the cooperative started ringing non-stop, as it was called by county and provincial officials one after another. That's when I found out my exam results had placed me third in the entire province. In the following days, our home was practically overrun with visits from various officials and entrepreneurs. Everyone's come to see me. The little golden swallow who flew out of the mountain hollow, the official who delivered my subsidy back then, is here too. He's a good man and a good leader. Director Zhang. Director Zhang teased me cheerfully. So that's why your husband didn't take you to Beijing back then. You had it all planned. They'd pave the way first, and you'd follow after. Why didn't you mention you were planning to take the exam? I have plenty of books at home you could have used, and I could have even applied for extra funding for you from the higher-ups. I looked embarrassed and told Director Zhang. My husband didn't know I was taking the exam. Director Zhang was momentarily stunned. I went into the room and dug out a small cloth pouch, which contained some gold and silver jewelry. Director Zhang hesitated. I let out a bitter laugh. This is the subsidy you gave me back then. My husband took it, bought gold with it, and gave it to another woman. I had to cry and beg to get these back. So, you tell me, how could I possibly dare let him know I wanted to take the college entrance exams upon hearing that Jingziyu had received the subsidy but never given it to me? Director Zhang exploded in fury. These educated youths sent down to the countryside, every last one of them thinks too highly of themselves to actually pull such a capitalist stunt. Had I known, I never would have agreed to promote someone with such rotten morals. Knowing this whole affair had caused Director Zhang to lose face, I quickly tried to soothe him. This has nothing to do with you. In the past, my husband always put me down, saying I was too stupid to study. It was only after they left that I could finally settle down and focus on my studies. If it weren't for you, I might not have passed the exams at all. Moreover, while Jingziyu's character leaves much to be desired, his knowledge and technical skills truly make him the most suitable candidate among the educated youth. Sending him to Beijing would allow him to contribute to the nation. Our personal grievances shouldn't stand in the way of progress. After saying this, Director Zhang fell into deep thought. I lowered my head to conceal a smile. Anyone can spout noble sentiments by echoing words Jingziyu had once used. I made Director Zhang see me as both pitiable and magnanimous. Jingziyu wasn't the only candidate for the Beijing assignment. Among the educated youth who arrived earlier, there was an older comrade, Brother Liu, who was actually more suitable in every way. The only reason he passed up the opportunity was because he had 2 children at home and couldn't bear to leave his family behind. I reckon Director Zhang has already thought of him by now. Director Zhang promised me he would report the matter truthfully to the higher-ups. Then he left the bonus from headquarters for me and stormed off in a huff. I phrased it that way on purpose, to remind Director Zhang how Jingziyu used to speak to him with the same high-sounding hypocrisy. It made him realize how he'd been deceived and used as a pawn to hurt me. I didn't need to say another word. Director Zhang would take care of Jingziyu himself, but Director Zhang alone wasn't a sure thing, so I took a portion of the bonus money and went to knock on Brother Lu's door. It was Brother Lu's wife who answered. Qiuyan, what brings you here? Brother Lu's wife was a decent, honest woman. After hearing about Jingziyu, she felt a great deal of sympathy for me. Sis, I'm here to see Brother Lu. I wanted to ask him if he still wants to take you all to Beijing. They quickly ushered me inside. Brother Lu looked conflicted. But I have 2 kids. It would break my heart to leave either one behind, and I can't very well leave my wife here. Brother Lu's wife gave him a discreet nudge, signaling him not to say such things in front of me. I smiled and said, I have an idea, but I'm not sure if you'd be willing. Brother Lu quickly nodded and asked me what the idea was with an air of mystery. I said, the idea is to let me adopt one of your children. Jingziyu had been making frequent trips to the post office lately, each time returning home disappointed. The letter had been sent out a long time ago, so a reply should have arrived by now. Yet, no matter how many times he went to check, he was always told there was no mail for them. It was Jiang Yunqi, however, who had sent them a letter. The letter expressed her gratitude. Brother Jin, by the time you read this, my family and I will have already emigrated abroad. Thank you for looking after me all these years in the countryside. Sister-in-law is a wonderful person. When you have the chance, bring her to Beijing. It's best if we don't stay in touch from now on. It was then that Jingziyu realized Jiang Yunqi was just using him as a pawn to get back to Beijing with Jiang Yunqi's privileged background, why would she ever be interested in a married man with children living out in the countryside around the same time? I also received letters from Xingziyu and Jiang Yunqi, forwarded to me by my family. I opened Xingziyu's letter and skimmed it, finding nothing of substance. I tossed it aside. I opened Jiang Yunqi's letter, and the first thing I saw was a thick wad of cash in the letter. She apologized to me, saying she never intended to break up my family. However, without Xingziyu, she simply couldn't have returned to Beijing. Her initial plan was just to get close to the person most likely to make it back, hoping to find a way home herself. Even in the letter, her pride remained. She didn't make excuses for her actions, she simply owned up to them. Part of that stack of money was what Xingziyu had spent on her in the past. She had kept a careful account of it all. The rest of it, she had stuffed in herself, saying it was compensation for me. She told me that Xingziyu was not a man worth entrusting my life to. If possible, she hoped I could use this money to live a better life and not forgive her or Xingziyu. It suddenly occurred to me that I seemed to have received a letter from Jiang Yunqi at this time in my past life, but back then, I hated her, thinking she was just here to flaunt her success. When I saw it was her letter, I didn't even read it and sent it right back. It was only when I saw that huge sum of money that I realized what I had missed out on in my past life. As for Jiang Yunqi, I have no intention of forgiving her on behalf of my past self. From now on, we'll be nothing but strangers. What really got on my nerves was Xingziyu starting to write me letters like a madman, even sending them to my parents and neighbors. After they received the letters, they would always forward them to me in Beijing. Each one was filled with meaningless, self-indulgent whining, always ending with a promise to bring me to Beijing. Yet, not a single penny was ever enclosed in any of those letters. I saved them all up, keeping them to use as kindling for the fire later. I wrote directly to my family, telling them that if they received another letter, they should just open it. If there was money inside, they could keep it. If not, they should just throw it away. That way, they wouldn't have to forward it to me only for me to discard it, and they'd save on the extra postage. After that, my world became a lot more peaceful. In my sophomore year, Brother Lu arrived with his wife and child. Since one of the children is registered under my name, Brother Lu was able to come along with us. I knew my plan had worked. After Director Zhang left that day, I went to see Brother Lu and asked him to let me adopt one of his children. This way, when I went off to university, I would have a dependence quota, and Brother Lu could come with me to Beijing. With my last shred of hesitation gone, Brother Lu and I plotted to report Xingziyu to the county authorities for abandoning his wife and indulging in capitalist extravagance. Director Zhang and Brother Lu filed the report from both the top and the bottom. I refuse to believe Xingziyu can just sit comfortably in Beijing after this. When I met Brother Lu in Beijing, I knew our plan had succeeded. I reckon Xingziyu and Jingwen have probably been sent back to their hometown. In my junior year, I walked out of the school gates with a female classmate. My classmate asked me curiously, "Chuyen, you've been in school for so long, how come you've never been in a relationship?" I smiled. I'd put on a little weight, and without having to work in the fields every day, exposed to the wind and sun, my skin had even improved, making me look younger. Only a few close friends know that I was once married and have a child. If anyone asks, I won't shy away from the topic. I was just about to explain when I suddenly heard a voice, choked with emotion, calling out, "Chuyen." I looked into the distance and, for a moment, didn't recognize who it was. It wasn't until they got closer that I realized it was actually Xingziyu and Jingwen. I looked Jingwen over. He'd grown so much. It felt like I hadn't seen him at this age in 2 lifetimes. Xingziyu's face was a picture of something precious regained, and Jingwen's eyes were welling up. Xingziyu grabbed my arm and demanded, "Why didn't you ever write back? Do you have any idea how worried we were? Why didn't you tell us you got into university?" I gave a cold laugh. "Weren't you two the ones who always called me stupid and wouldn't let me study with you? You abandoned me and came to Beijing alone back then. Why on earth should I tell you anything?" Embarrassment flashed across Xingziyu and Jingwen's faces. A classmate asked me curiously who they were. I shook off their hands and said coldly, "They're nobody." I turned to leave, and Jingwen let out a wailing cry. "Mom, are you leaving me and Dad?" My female classmate's eyes widened in shock. "Don't say such things, kid. Chuyen doesn't even have a boyfriend." I sighed and told my classmate that these two were indeed my husband and son. Jingwen sobbed as she demanded to know why I had just refused to acknowledge them. I felt nothing but irritation. "Didn't you say back then that Jiang Yunqi was 100 times better than me? So why are you coming to me now? I'm just a country bumpkin, not good enough for the likes of you." Xingziyu pitifully clung to Jingwen, making it seem as though I were the heartless villain who had abandoned my family. From Xingziyu's account, I finally learned that they had suffered a great deal after being sent back to the countryside. No one looked up to him anymore for being an educated youth. In fact, because he had abandoned me, He faced hostility from the villagers every time he stepped outside. Jing Ziyu realized that after Shen Chuyan left, his life was no longer smooth sailing. It was only then he understood just how much housework there was and how endless the farm chores could be. Jingwen was glad he no longer faced discrimination from the city folk, but he hadn't expected that his old friends and classmates would start giving him the cold shoulder too. It was only then they found out that I had long since been admitted to Peking University and left for Beijing. The letters they sent were never received by her, but they didn't have my new contact information. When they went to my family's home, they were driven out and even got their foot injured. No wonder. I just noticed he seemed to be walking with a slight limp. Fortunately, not long after Jing Ziyu returned to his hometown, the state issued a decree allowing the educated youth who had been sent down to the countryside to gradually return to their places of origin. This year, Jing Ziyu and Jingwen were finally able to return to Beijing. Even in Beijing, the news of Jing Ziyu's deportation had spread far and wide. No organization was willing to hire someone with such a tarnished moral character. With nowhere else to turn, they came looking for me. They camped out at the school gate for days before finally catching me. After hearing their sob story, I felt not a shred of pity, only contempt. I knew Jing Ziyu showing up meant trouble. If he had money or a job, he wouldn't have come to me in the first place. I said coldly, "So why are you even here? Do you expect me, a woman, to support two grown men like I used to?" Everyone had grasped the whole story by then. When Jing Ziyu tried to grab me again, my classmates had already blocked his way. I took my female classmate's hand and turned to leave. Hearing Jing Ziyu and Jingwen shouting behind me, I quickened my pace. I heard later that they came back a few more times, and each time my classmates chased them off. After that, I started receiving a monthly sum of money, which wasn't even a tenth of what I earned working on projects with my advisor. I anonymously donated all of it to a few financially struggling students at the university, claiming it was a scholarship. The next time I heard about Jing Ziyu from Brother Liu was when he mentioned he'd injured his hand on a construction site and could no longer do manual labor. By then, I was preparing to go abroad for research with my advisor. I gave Brother Liu a substantial amount of money and asked him to send regular monthly child support to Jingwen. That was the last shred of kindness I could offer him. A few years later, our mentor's research project abroad was an extraordinary success. Without hesitation, we followed our teacher back to China, bringing our research findings with us. For the decades that followed, I dedicated myself to various R&D projects. I progressed from working under my mentor, to establishing my own practice, and eventually to mentoring graduate students myself. The journey was not without its struggles. As I was a bit slower than my peers, I simply had to work that much harder. My past life faded further and further away. I didn't even attend Jing Ziyu's funeral. On the day of my passing, all my students from far and wide rushed back to see me one last time. Through the crowd, I spotted a familiar figure in the distance, but I couldn't for the life of me remember which student he was. With a faint smile, I closed my eyes, the sound of mournful sobs reaching my ears. "Children, do not weep. You are all fledgling swallows, untouched by storm. One day you will soar higher and higher." And Story 2. On the night of the Qixi festival, the private movie screening ended after 5 showings, and my husband still hadn't shown up. Meanwhile, the female student he's been sponsoring posted an update on her social media. "So grateful for your support, brother. I have nothing to repay you with except myself." The accompanying photo was a close-up selfie of the two of them, cheek to cheek. My brow furrowed. After the 99th unanswered call, my husband finally picked up, his voice tinged with irritation. "My phone died. I forgot to tell you I had plans today. Ting Ting got into grad school. I promised she could cash in a Qixi exclusive favor. I'm spending tonight with her." Sensing my silence, he softened his tone to placate me. "Getting a guaranteed graduate admission is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity, just this once, and never again. I swear, I'll spend every Qixi festival with you from now on." I chuckled and hung up the phone. For all the Qixi festivals to come, I wouldn't need him anymore. The live stream from the Twin Towers gave a clear view into Lu Huanyan's office. In front of the massive floor-to-ceiling window, the silhouettes of a man and a woman were locked in a tight embrace, kissing passionately. Everyone thought Lu Huanyan had left the company's top floor vacant just to please me. They all laugh at him for keeping a mistress in a golden cage, but they have no idea. The one he's hiding isn't me, it's that little vixen, Chen Tingting. With a bitter smile, I looked around the empty movie theater and called my friend. "Let's hold off on transferring the shares to Lu Huanyan for now. What's wrong? Did Lu Huanyan upset you again over that Chen Tingting?" I didn't answer directly. I just suddenly feel utterly disillusioned with it all. I thought giving him shares would secure his position at Lu Corporation, but it seems I was just being sentimental. I called the driver to pick me up, but he sounded completely taken aback. "Madam, "What are you doing at the cinema, mister? Lou just instructed me to buy you some lace lingerie and deliver it to the office." My steps faltered, and the last vestige of warmth in my heart vanished. Half an hour later, I rushed up to the company rooftop, clutching a paper bag containing a black lace bra. I pushed the door open. Lu Huanyan spun around, a flicker of panic crossing his face. "What are you doing here?" Chen Tingting shrank back like a startled fawn. "Sis, please don't get the wrong idea." Huanyan and I, her eyes, fixed on Lu Huanyan, were heavy with desire. The bra with its broken strap was draped over the arm of the sofa. I ignored her, walked straight up to them, and threw the luxury shopping bag in my hand onto Lu Huanyan's desk. The black lace bra slid out, spilling open before his eyes. "Oh dear, sister, you must have misunderstood." While Chen Tingting's words sounded like an explanation, she was actually swaying her body to brush against Lu Huanyan's arm. The Lu Huanyan before her had a visibly bobbing Adam's apple, a clear sign of his arousal. "Miss Chen has successfully secured a postgraduate recommendation. For such a joyous occasion, how could there be no congratulatory gift? Consider these a gift from me, the lawful wife." Lu Huanyan's face turned ashen. He took a step forward, trying to grab my hand. "You're being too harsh. Tingting just wanted me to spend the night with her as a reward for passing her postgraduate entrance exam." I stared at him in disbelief. "Lu Huanyan, open your eyes and look. For someone like her, how many more times are you going to fight with me over this?" Those words were like a match to a powder keg. Lu Huanyan's face darkened completely. He shielded Chen Tingting behind him and his thin lips parted. "And what about you? What kind of person are you?" I'd lost count of how many times he had scolded me like this for Chen Tingting's sake. He didn't even hesitate to imply that someone like me, whom he'd picked up from a nightclub, was no match for that delicate little flower, Chen Tingting. But Chen Tingting wasn't the innocent soul he imagined her to be. I warned him too many times, but it was always the same outcome. For 10 years of marriage, we treated each other with the utmost respect. I naively believed that was what love was. It wasn't until Chen Tingting appeared that I saw a youthful, spirited side of him I had never seen before. "Don't worry, no one can take your place as Mrs. Lu. It's just Qixi Festival. Be sensible and don't make a fuss." He hurriedly shooed me away, terrified I'd ruin his little rendezvous. But I never wanted the title of Mrs. Lu. All I ever wanted was his love. I stumbled out the door. Lewd sounds soon echoed from behind the door. Lu Huanyan, who was always so restrained, was now completely losing control. "Huanyan, be gentle. One more time, please, just once." Like an eager young man, he coaxed the girl beneath him, begging for more again and again. I stood outside the door for as long as the sounds from within lasted. It wasn't until my phone lit up with a message from Chen Tingting. "Sis, Huanyan says he loves someone clean and hot like me, not someone dirty and shriveled like you. Let's make a bet. I bet he won't just be mine for Qixi Festival. He's promised me his exclusive attention for the whole next month." Back when the Gu family fell on hard times, I was unexpectedly captured by a rival and sent to a nightclub dressed in revealing clothes. I entered the night scene only to be maliciously harassed by drunken patrons. My most humiliating past had now become his pillow talk. A story to amuse his new lover. I wiped the tears from my face. "Fine, if I lose, I'll give you the title of Mrs. Lu. I want to know too, in all these 10 years, did he not have even a shred of affection for me?" Chapter 2. When the morning light finally broke, I sent Lu Huanyan a picture of the prenatal checkup report. "Congratulations, Mr. Lu, you're going to be a father." His WeChat profile picture is still that rushed wedding photo of ours from back then. The smile I once thought was full of happiness now looks utterly distant. 10 minutes later, my phone started buzzing like crazy. Lu Huanyan's calls kept coming, one after another, but I ignored every single one. Lu Huanyan and I were two people from completely different worlds within the capital's elite circles. I was the cherished eldest daughter of the Gu family, while he was the Viscount's shameful, illegitimate son. That all changed when the Gu family went bankrupt overnight. I plummeted from the clouds into the dirt, treated like a piece of merchandise and sent to work in a nightclub. Amidst the dazzling lights and intoxicating revelry, I spotted Lu Huanyan in an instant. They said he was ruthless and cruel, with a particular fondness for delicate beauties. So, in a desperate gamble, I knelt before him, clutched the hem of his trousers, and begged him to save me. I sheathed all my sharp edges, transforming myself into the gentle, demure woman he favored. I shed my flamboyant red dress and donned the rigid professional suit, using everything I learned from my father to help him steadily secure control of the Lu family's power. It wasn't until the Lu family banquet, when the elders began pressing him to marry, that he quietly slipped a new pair into my hand. His little niece laughed at my lack of breeding. Lu Huanyan wiped the corner of his mouth, his gaze cool as it swept over the butler. from now on, you will address her as madam." The entire room was stunned that night. We were like fire and tinder. There was no confession, no proposal, not even a proper wedding, and just like that, in a daze, I became his Mrs. Liu, believing he loved me. I muddled through 10 years in that same haze in less than an hour. Liu Huanyan was back. Luxury shopping bags were scattered all over the floor. Before I could even speak, he took the initiative to show weakness. "Huaixia, I promise there won't be a next time. From now on, my assistant will be solely responsible for Tingting's sponsorship. I won't have any private contact with her again." I pushed the prenatal checkup report on the table toward him. "Liu Huanyan, make your choice. Have the child, or cut off the funding and send her abroad." He frowned at the report, his expression complicated. "Tingting's parents died saving me. I can't be ungrateful," I scoffed. "So your way of repaying them is to make their only daughter the other woman?" His face paled, and he wanted to argue back. "Liu Huanyan, last night, I was standing right outside the door. I heard every single thing you did." The last glimmer of hope in his eyes died out as his gaze fell upon the thin prenatal checkup report. He hesitated for a long, long time, so long that I thought he was going to choose Chen Tingting. Finally, as if he had made up his mind, he said, "All right, I'll send her away." He stood up to leave immediately, as if in a hurry to deal with the matter. I called out to stop him. "Liu Huanyan, what exactly am I to you? Your wife, or your business partner?" He didn't look back, only leaving behind the words, "Don't overthink things, just focus on resting for the baby." Before the door closed, beneath his loosened tie, were glaring red marks. I sat quietly for a long time before sending him a message. "I made your favorite dish for dinner. Come home early, very soon." He replied with a single word, "Okay." Liu Huanyan returned punctually at 7 in the evening. I had already taken down the wedding photo from the wall last night, and the photo wall that was once filled with a decade of memories now stood completely bare. He walked past that empty stretch of wall without so much as a glance. He sat at the table, picked up his chopsticks, and waited for me to serve him soup as if it were the most natural thing in the world. Everything was just as it had been for the past 10 years. He hadn't noticed, or perhaps he had and simply didn't care. In his eyes, this was probably just another one of my unreasonable tantrums. In a few days, I'd calm down and obediently hang the photo back up. After 10 years, he was utterly convinced I could never leave him. When I brought up Chen Tingting, Liu Huanyan's chopsticks paused mid-air. "She's been taken care of. She won't bother us again. Don't go looking for trouble with her, either." I nodded obediently, lowering my gaze to unlock my phone. "IP location, Jing City." "Is that so? But her IP address is still showing in Kyoto." Liu Huanyan's expression shifted slightly. "It's probably just a delay in the platform's update." He even called his assistant right in front of me. "Shaoli, have you booked Chen Tingting's flight ticket?" The assistant's voice came through the phone. "President Liu, she has already arrived in Singapore." I questioned again, "But her location?" He cut me off, his voice weary and disappointed. "Huaixia, it's been 10 years. Don't you trust me even that much?" Yet our 10 years of affection couldn't even begin to compare to how important Chen Tingting was to him. That evening, Liu Huanyan offered, "I'll sleep in the study tonight. I have a project with several cross-time zone meetings coming up, and it would disturb your sleep." I nodded, watching him walk into the study. The next second, a message from Chen Tingting came through. "Gu Huaixia, you didn't win, and I didn't lose." Barefoot, I crept silently to the study door. Through the crack in the door, I saw Liu Huanyan's back as he pulled out the bra with the broken strap. Soon, the sound of Chen Tingting's ragged breathing came from the phone. Liu Huanyan's breathing grew ragged and quickened, culminating in a sigh of deep satisfaction. My hands and feet turned to ice as I recalled the formulaic, passionless routine of our nights together. A stinging ache welled up behind my eyes. In the back garden, I fed our wedding photos, one by one, into the flames, watching us twist and contort in the flames, until we were reduced to nothing but charred, blackened ash. "If it's useless, don't keep it." As I passed by the study, the sound of Chen Tingting's breathless moans seeped through the door crack, mingled with Liu Huanyan's stifled groans. My tears had long since run dry, and my heart felt utterly numb. I opened my phone and booked a flight abroad for 3 days later. Chapter 3. For the next several days, Liu Huanyan did not spend a single night at home. I could practically picture how he and Chen Tingting were all over each other. Well, absence makes the heart grow fonder. I checked the time and then dialed Liu Huanyan's number. "Huanyan, help me, I fell. My stomach hurts so much, and I'm bleeding a lot." On the other end of the line, Liu Huanyan's voice was indeed panicked, and in the background, Chen Tingting let out a delicate, startled cry. "Huaixia, don't move, wait for me at home, I'm coming right back." He hurriedly hung up the phone. I set my phone down, leisurely poured myself a glass of warm water, and gazed calmly out the window. 10 minutes, 20 minutes, half an hour. The expected sound of hurried footsteps never came from outside the door. My phone, however, lit up. Chen Tingting just updated her social media. Lu Huaiyan was gently helping her drink some warm water, with the location tagged at her apartment. The caption under the photo read, "It's so nice to be cared for." When night had fully fallen, Lu Huaiyan burst in, bringing a chill with him, and immediately launched into a furious tirade. "Gu Huaixia, you're absolutely ruthless. I never imagined you could be so vile as to desecrate her parents' ashes." In the video, several people smashed open the tombstone, shattering the two urns into pieces. Someone even stomped on the fragments with their foot. This is Tingting's parents' grave. When she saw this video, she almost cried herself sick. "He gripped my wrist so tightly it hurt, making me wince." "Didn't you send Chen Tingting to Singapore?" The anger on his face faltered, his eyes darting away. "She couldn't go abroad. She threatened to kill herself, so I cut him off." Lu Huaiyan, "We've been married for 10 years, in your eyes, am I really the kind of person who would go digging up someone's grave?" My question left him speechless, and his grip on my hand loosened slightly. "It better not have been you, Gu Huaixia. Don't overstep your bounds, Tingting. Her situation is special. I have to keep her with me, from start to finish." He never once asked about the child I'm carrying. This child, a fiction I created to test his feelings for me, now lost all meaning. My heart turned completely, utterly cold in that instant. "Lu Huaiyan, I want a divorce." He let out a derisive snort, his entire expression dripping with mockery. "You think you can leave me, Gu Huaixia? Don't forget, you're carrying my child." Seeing my silence, the smugness on his face intensified, and his tone turned flippant and brazen. 10 years, if you're not sick of it, I certainly am. You just keep being the dutiful Mrs. Lu. I'm just keeping a little plaything on the side to amuse myself." I raised my eyes, meeting the gaze of his utterly disfigured face. "You disgust me." He flew into a towering rage and smashed half the room to pieces. All the gifts we'd exchanged, all the furniture we'd bought for our love nest, everything was reduced to rubble. I just watched calmly until he slammed the door and stormed out. Only then did I break down into uncontrollable sobs. All those years, and in the end, I was the one who gave my heart to the wrong person. Early the next morning, I went straight to the top floor of the company with the documents. When the elevator doors opened, I almost thought I'd stepped into the wrong place. Pink wallpaper, white lace curtains, even the desks had been swapped out for a pink and white combo that was the very picture of girlish charm. He doesn't even bother to hide it anymore. "What are you doing here?" Without a word, I walked straight up to him and slapped a stack of documents on his desk. "Sign the resignation letter." He didn't even bother to glance at it, signing his name with a dramatic flourish. "All right, that's enough. Go home and rest properly for the baby's sake." He paused, then added a smug, placating remark, "Don't worry, no matter what Chen Tingting does, she could never take your place as Mrs. Lu." On the divorce papers and the share transfer agreement, Lu Huaiyan's signature remained as arrogant and flamboyant as ever in the window's reflection. My eyes and brows appeared gentle and soft. This face, this expression, even the tone of my voice, all had been meticulously crafted to his liking. Now, I can finally be myself again. I started the car and headed straight for the airport. On the way, I called Lu Huaiyan's elder brother. "Lu Yunian, I can transfer my 10% stake to you. Congratulations, President Lu, on succeeding Lu Huaiyan as the next helmsman of the Lu Group." "Lu Huaiyan, I hope you enjoy the 2 gifts I prepared for you." Chapter 4. Lu Huaiyan held Chen Tingting close, his hand gently caressing her waist. Just as the intimate moment was reaching its peak, his assistant burst in, sweating profusely. "Boss Lu, something terrible has happened." Lu Huaiyan's face instantly turned ashen. "Boss Lu, it's a disaster. Lu Yunian has called an emergency board meeting. He claims he now holds 35% of the shares and is demanding your removal as CEO. How is that possible? He only had 25%. Could it be Gu Huaixia?" Time and again, all I got was a busy signal. The office door was knocked on once more, and the courier handed over another document pouch. The first thing he saw was the divorce agreement, already signed and finalized. Lu Huaiyan was thunderstruck, collapsing into his chair. "Impossible, she's carrying his child. How could they possibly get a divorce?" Lu Yunian acted with swift decisiveness. In just a few days, Lu Huaiyan was completely stripped of his power. When the wall starts to crumble, everyone gives it a push. When the tree falls, the monkeys scatter. Those so-called friends who once flocked around him, fawningly calling him Brother Huaiyan, have now all distanced themselves. The media showed no mercy, digging deep into his identity as an illegitimate child, cataloging every managerial misstep, and painting his salacious scandal with Chen Tingting in vivid, lurid detail. "Huaiyan, don't look at this anymore. They're all just jealous of you, so what if the Lu group is gone? We'll start over from scratch. I'll be by your side, always. Chen Tingting nestled close to him, trying to take his phone, but to Lu Huainian's ears, her voice was nothing but an unbearable irritation at that moment. He went straight back to the marital home he shared with Gu Huaixia. The room was in complete disarray. Frozen in the chaotic aftermath of his destructive rage, on the nightstand, a folded piece of paper was tucked under a book, one corner peeking out. Miscarriage diagnosis report. The date on it was the very day he had received her desperate call. He thought she was just using the child to gain sympathy. He never imagined things would come to this. He was just uncontrollably infatuated with Chen Tingting. That's all. He was just bored and wanted to have a little fun on the side. How did it all end in the utter ruin of his family? The mere thought of having lost Gu Huaixia completely made Lu Huainian's heart ache so much he could barely breathe. Empty bottles lay scattered across the floor as Lu Huainian, reeking of alcohol, slumped in the bar booth. Lu Yunian looked down at him from above. Look at you, a drowned rat. You don't actually think the Lu group was handed to you because of your own merit, do you? Lu Huainian jerked his head up, glaring at him through drunken, bleary eyes. What do you know? It was me. I was the one who. Lu Yunian cut him off with a cold sneer. Without Gu Huaixia's resources, connections, and ability, what are you? A bastard? What gives you the right to compete with me? Without her, you're nothing. Lu Huainian shot up from his seat as if stung. It was me. I was the one who saved her from that nightclub. Everything she has, I gave to her. Lu Yunyan's smile grew even more sardonic. You should be grateful. If you hadn't stumbled into saving her back then, making her your most devoted ally in your climb to the top, how could a bastard like you, unfit for the public eye, ever have taken control of the Lu family business? He stumbled back to Chen Tingting's apartment, completely and utterly drunk. The moment he entered, he roughly grabbed Chen Tingting and pinned her down beneath him, his mind consumed by nothing but the urge to vent. Ah, Huainian, you're hurting me. Her cry of pain made him freeze, jolting him back to a sliver of clarity. Go take a shower. As if guided by some unseen force, he picked up Chen Tingting's forgotten phone. Several flirtatious chat messages leaped out at him from the screen. Hey babe, did that idiot Lu transfer you more money? When are you gonna dump him and be with me? Don't be so impatient. Let me get my hands on his company's confidential files first. I'll sell them to the competitor, take one last big score, and then I'll come to you. In an instant, Lu Huainian felt as if he had plunged into an icy abyss. He suddenly remembered that Gu Huaixia had warned him more than once about Chen Tingting's ulterior motives, urging him to be careful. But what had he said at the time? He accused her of being jealous and intolerant. Remorse and fury instantly overwhelmed his reason. He kicked the bathroom door open and slapped Chen Tingting hard across the face. Chapter 5. As the plane climbed smoothly into the sky, I closed my eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Lu Huainian stood beneath the cherry blossom tree, his eyes fixed on me alone. Huaixia, will you marry me? We were sitting on the carpet in our new home, and he gently caressed my slightly rounded belly. Is it a boy or a girl? Either is fine, as long as they're as clever as you. Later, we were blessed with a son and a daughter. The little girl is the spitting image of me. With big, sparkling eyes, Lu Huainian dotes on her like she's his whole world. The first thing he does after work every day is scoop her up for a hug. He never works overtime, always coming home on time to have dinner with us. On the weekend, I took the whole family of 4 to the amusement park and bought the kids cotton candy. In the dream, there was no Chen Tingting, no betrayal, no arguments. There was only a love that weathered all storms together, and a complete, warm home. In the dream, we grew old together, and he would always say, over and over again, Huaixia, I love you. Only when the lights in the cabin flickered on, I touched my cheek and found it was wet with tears. All those years of unrequited sincerity, of cautious attempts to please, of self-doubt and disappointment. In this moment, they all melted away. A perfect ending, finally putting my last lingering obsession to rest. The moment I landed, I spotted my senior brother right away. Our eyes met, and his were filled with nothing but astonishment. It's been years. You seem like a completely different person. I always pictured you with a sharp, short haircut, full of energy, but now, with this long hair and this outfit, you give off a real, dutiful wife vibe. I looked down at myself, a beige tweed suit, my long hair gently swept up, and on my face, a smile of practiced gentleness and grace. Well, what can I say? My judgment was off in those days. I poured my heart out trying to warm up an ungrateful wretch, only for them to find me too hot to handle. Well, it's over now. I'm free. It's time to shed this skin for good. My senior was taken aback for a moment, then he snatched all the luggage from beside me. Without a word, we both made a beeline for the styling studio. Strands of long hair fell to the floor, as if the scissors had severed those unbearable memories along with them. I raised my hand and casually brushed aside the stray hairs on my forehead. I took off the little tweed suit I detested. Von Muken's eyes lit up when he saw me. Then he tossed a file folder into my arms. Take a look. I opened the file folder. Inside were photos of potential gallery locations, design blueprints, and various contracts. The location, the square footage, the style. It was exactly as I had described to him all those years ago in a tipsy conversation. The gallery was named Summer Light. My fingertips brushed over those two words, and my heart gave a soft, sudden lurch. It suddenly came back to me. That time on Lu Huainian's birthday, when I'd had too much to drink, clung to him, and confessed my dream of owning my own gallery. What had he said back then? He gently stroked my head, his tone laced with undeniable affection. Huaixia, just focus on being Mrs. Lu. Running a gallery is tiring and doesn't pay well. I'll take care of you. Every single time I brought it up, he found a new excuse to turn me down. I closed the file folder and patted him on the shoulder. Thanks, Senior. He kept his eyes forward, but a faint smile touched the corner of his mouth. Welcome back, Mr. Gu. Chapter 6. The gallery preparations were in full swing. My senior, Von Muken, and I were run off our feet, handling everything from selecting the paintings and arranging the exhibition to drawing up the guest list for the opening reception. We oversaw every detail personally. My hectic schedule had long since pushed all those domestic grudges and dramas to the back of my mind. 1 week before the opening, I heard about Lu Huainian's recent situation from a friend. Did you know, Lu Huainian has sued Chen Tingting, charging her with corporate espionage. I heard she got close to him just to steal company secrets and sell them to competitors. That woman is ruthless. She didn't even stop gathering intel when they were in bed together. My coffee cup paused in my hand. It's a surprise, really. I actually thought Chen Tingting had some genuine feelings for him when she got close. Who would have thought it was all just manipulation in the end? The woman he had so earnestly declared was his true love was just playing him for a fool. What a supreme irony. He even gave an exclusive interview to a financial magazine. My friend unlocked her phone and handed it to me. Look, the whole article is just him apologizing to you, saying he made a foolish mistake and hoping to earn your forgiveness. On the screen, Lu Huainian wore a carefully crafted look of haggardness and deep affection, waxing lyrical to the camera about our past, never failing to mention my wife, Huaixia, in every other sentence. I scoffed dismissively and pushed the phone back. Crocodile tears. Who's the performance for? On the opening day of the Summer Light Art Exhibition, the venue was packed with guests. Just as we were chatting and laughing, Lu Huainian rushed out from the crowd, his eyes slightly red. The sight of Von Muken standing shoulder to shoulder with me sent him into a blind rage. Gu Huaixia, I've been looking everywhere for you, and here you are, cozying up to another man. Our divorce was just finalized, and you're already throwing yourself at someone else. All eyes in the vicinity instantly snapped toward us. I frowned, wrenched my hand free from his grasp, and took a step back to put distance between us. Lu Huainian, what right do you have to question me? You're just an ex-husband. You're overstepping the very words he once used to berate me. I now threw back at him in full. A flicker of pain flashed in his eyes at that moment. After a long, tense standoff, Lu Huainian actually dropped to his knees in front of everyone. He looked up, his face a mask of remorse and pleading. Huaixia, I was wrong. Please forgive me. I just had a momentary lapse in judgment. I made the mistake that all men are prone to make. For the sake of all our years together, give me another chance. The mistake that all men are prone to make. My senior brother let out a derisive snort. Excuse me, but we men aren't taking the blame for this. Don't try to pass off your own lack of self-control as some universal male failing. Exactly, cheating on your own and then dragging the rest of us down with you. That's just shameless, sir. What you did isn't just a mistake, it's a character flaw, like a single stone causing 1,000 ripples. The men around him began to denounce him one after another, their words growing increasingly sharp. Witnessing this scene, I couldn't help but feel a strange mix of amusement and exasperation. I took the initiative to link my arm with my senior brother's and strode away. Lu Huainian, 10 years of my genuine devotion couldn't even earn a single glance from you. It's too late now. Chapter 7. The commotion at the gallery quickly died down, and the guests gracefully pretended as if nothing had happened. 3 days later, Von Muken walked into my studio with a grave expression. Huaixia, something's happened to Lu Huainian. He was hit by a car right outside your building, they say. He stood there all night. The next morning, he was so out of it while walking that he stumbled right into the path of a speeding taxi. I let out a laugh, but it didn't reach my eyes, putting on a show of suffering for my benefit. Does he really think that if he gets hurt, I'll feel sorry for him and come running like I used to? No questions asked. How pathetic. He still thinks I'm that Gu Huaixia who used to revolve her entire world around him. About the hospital, I'm not going, I cut off. My senior brother, my tone utterly flat, whether he lives or dies is none of my concern. Fang Mukan didn't try to persuade me further, and simply helped me pack up my painting supplies in silence. Lu Huainian's meticulously orchestrated tragedy had no audience. It must have been a lonely performance. 2 weeks later, he was discharged from the hospital that afternoon. I was taking a nap in the gallery's lounge when an employee suddenly knocked on the door, saying a Mr. Lu was here to see me. I walked out and saw Lu Huainian, leaning on a crutch with a bandage still taped to his temple. He was holding a heavy wooden box in his hands. Seeing this wooden crate, a flood of memories washes over me. Our entire decade together was packed away inside this very crate. It was my oversight before I left, not burning it all to ashes, that gave Lu Huainian the opening he needed. And now he's brought it here to torment me. I just can't wrap my head around it. How could he possibly have the nerve to ask for my forgiveness after the way he treated me? Huaixia, look at these. Lifting the lid revealed a box full to the brim. Every single one was a photo of us from the past 10 years. Some were candid shots taken by friends. Others I had to beg him to take with me. A whole box of photos. And not a single one was a picture he had taken with me on his own initiative. His voice choked with emotion, the words barely coming out. We have 10 years of feelings, 10 years of memories. How can you bear to just throw it all away? The photo on top was a picture of us taken 3 months into our relationship. In the photo, my smile is strained, my body leaning slightly towards him, my eyes filled with a cautious, almost pleading eagerness to please. I remember that day. He said the color of my dress was too gaudy and made me go home to change in front of our friends. I obediently did as I was told, changing into a plain, long dress he liked. The second one was from his victory celebration. He stood at the center of the crowd, the absolute star of the show. There I stood, on the very edge, in a simple, ill-fitting dress, a glass in hand, my gaze never leaving him. The third, the fourth, I flipped through them, one by one. In the photos, my hairstyle changed, my style of dress evolved, but one thing remained constant, everything was tailored to please him. I remember how desperately I craved his approval back then, how a single approving glance could make my day, and a single frown of his could keep me awake all night. Seeing me fall silent, he mistook it for my heart softening. He grabbed my hands in agitation, tears falling in heavy drops. Huaixia, I know I was wrong. That bitch Chen Tingting set me up. I was blind and foolish. Only now do I understand that in this whole world, you're the only one who truly cares for me. You are the most important person to me. He was weeping and pleading. As if consumed by the utmost remorse, I withdrew my hand and looked at him calmly. Huaixia, there is still a debt of gratitude between us. Back at the nightclub, you begged me to save you. If it hadn't been for me back then, you would have. I never imagined he would use my sordid past to try and keep me. If this is about keeping me, then why must you keep reopening old wounds? Chapter 8. You talk about a debt of gratitude. Lu Huainian, haven't I spent the last 10 years repaying you for saving me back then? He was stunned, clearly not expecting me to counter like that. All the wealth and status you have now, how could you have gotten any of it without me? The connections I have, every project I facilitated for you, does none of that count as repayment? If I hadn't chosen you from that crowd back then, I could have just as easily used my connections and resources to get someone else to save me. I looked at his increasingly pale face and said, word by deliberate word, all I did was covet a fleeting glimpse of beauty, and it cost me 10 years. If you ask me my greatest regret, it was begging you to save me that day. Lu Huainian's face turned deathly pale, his lips parted, and fat tears began to roll down his cheeks. He had no retort, for everything I said was the truth. Back when the Gu family fell from grace, our rivals had me sent to a nightclub to be humiliated, yet I remain a phoenix in distress, not a common sparrow. It wasn't so much that he saved me, but rather that I chose him from the crowd to be my savior. All these years, he has leaned on the debt of my life, leveraging my connections and resources to pave his way. I have never brought it up, for fear of wounding his pride as a man. Perhaps with time, a lie repeated often enough becomes the truth. He gradually convinced himself that I was a helpless damsel he had rescued from the mire, and that without him, I was nothing. He trampled on my sincerity as if it were his right, and with the same entitlement, he began keeping a mistress on the side. He was stunned for a long moment before stumbling over his words in a frantic explanation. Huaixia, I know why you're treating me this way. You lost the baby, and that's why you're so heartbroken. That's why you want to break up with me. Slowly, word by word, I shattered his last remaining illusion. Lu Huainian, did you really think I was pregnant? That report was fake. Lu Huainian's face instantly drained of all color, his eyes wide with disbelief as he stared at me. What did you say? I said, there never was a child. I looked at him calmly. That was my final test for you, to see if you still held even a shred of affection for me, and if you could make the right choice when I needed you most. A pity, you failed my test. Lu Huanyan was as if struck by lightning, his whole body swaying unsteadily. No, that's impossible. Then your reaction back then, I said coolly, to see your true colors. I was willing to play a part, and the result was quite satisfying, wasn't it? He staggered back a few steps, his gaze vacant, muttering to himself, a lie, it was all a lie. He seemed to have gone completely mad, his pupils unfocused, mindlessly repeating those same few words over and over. Huai Xia, I love you, do you hear me? I love you. He lunged at me, desperately trying to grab the hem of my coat, his actions bordering on madness. Lu Huanyan, from this day forward, we are finished. With a wave of my hand, the security guards immediately dragged him out. After knowing him for 10 years, this was the first time I had ever seen him in such a wretched state. It was the first time I'd ever seen him get so worked up over me. It's just a shame it was all too late. Chapter 9. Not long after Lu Huanyan was dragged away, I heard the latest gossip from a friend. Did you hear? Lu Huanyan has lost his mind. He stepped down from all his positions at the company and voluntarily liquidated all his shares into cash. Chen Tingting has been arrested on suspicion of fraud and extortion. Word is, Lu Huanyan pulled every string he had to push the prosecutor for the maximum penalty. After all, they were once husband and wife, and she was the brilliant student he personally sponsored to success. How could he bring himself to actually send her to prison? How utterly heartless. That petty man didn't even spare Chen Tingting's lover. For every penny he spent on her, he's now making the other man cough up 10 times the amount through predatory online loans. I understand now. He's placing all the blame for losing me squarely on everyone else's shoulders. While outside influences certainly played a part, he himself is the one who ultimately pushed me away with his own 2 hands. If he had chosen me without hesitation back then, how could things have ended up like this? After 10 years together, for it to end in such a mess. Huai Xia, do you really feel nothing at all? Right now, I am truly as calm as a deep, still pond. Perhaps that beautiful dream on the plane gave my decade of deep affection a perfect conclusion. I've let it go completely. I was silent for a long time, so long that my friend thought I wouldn't answer and was about to change the subject. Before I finally spoke, slowly, perhaps, it's just that this dazzling world is too distracting. My friend was taken aback for a moment, then smiled with understanding. I downed the drink in my glass, stood up, and patted her on the shoulder. Let's go. Enough of this boring talk. My treat tonight. I'll take you to have some fun with a few male models. After 10 years of being a hopeless simp, it's about time I let loose and followed my true nature, the end. That's all for the first story. Don't go anywhere. The next one is even more thrilling. It all started because, on the eve of our wedding, I refused the absurd request from Ji Shiyan's White Moonlight to take my place as the bride for a month. Heartbroken, she ran onto the national highway and was killed in a car accident on the spot. That very night, Ji Shiyan grabbed me by the throat and demanded, I already agreed to marry you. Why couldn't you even grant her this one small wish? To avenge his beloved, he found a lookalike to punish me day and night in her stead. Not only did he force me to lose our child, but he also framed my father for illegal fundraising, driving him to his death in prison. My mother, unable to bear the shock, suffered a heart attack and was admitted to the ICU. When I went to beg him to sign the payment slip once more, I saw him intimately entangled with the substitute. Ayen, I'm carrying your child. How much longer must I keep pretending to be dead? Ji Shiyan was panting heavily. No rush. Let Gu Qinglan suffer a little more. Otherwise, she'll never learn her lesson. Her half-dead mother is still waiting for my money to pay the medical bills. So, Ji Shiyan's beloved White Moonlight was never dead after all. What I thought was atonement was nothing but a game to them. My child, my parents, we were all just pawns to be moved at their whim in this game. I waited all night, and in a daze, I didn't make it to the hospital with the payment slip until dawn, only to learn that my mother had slit her wrists the night before, leaving me with just one final message. Lon Lon, I can't be a burden to you anymore. One mother lay in the morgue, utterly lifeless. I crawled over and grasped her hand, the same hand that once held me, now cold as ice. Your mother took her own life at 9 o'clock last night. We tried calling you, but you didn't answer, Miss Gu. Please accept our condolences. You must try to stay calm for the sake of your unborn child. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Last night at 9, Ji Shiyan punished me by locking me in the freezer. I never imagined I would miss the chance to see my mother one last time because of this. Remembering the scene I witnessed outside the office, my strength left me and I collapsed to my knees. I wanted to hate Ji Shiyan, but in that moment, I was too drained to even muster the energy for Hatred. It wasn't until my mother was reduced to a small box that I finally broke down in heart-wrenching sobs. With the divorce papers in hand, my hands trembling, I dug out that long-forgotten number. "Please, take me away from Harbor City." The voice on the other end sounded pleasantly surprised. "Miss Gu, you've finally contacted us. We've already booked the tickets and will send someone to pick you up immediately." When I got home, Ji Shiyan was helping Sun Yanyan prune the flower branches. The entire yard was planted with peach trees, which I'm allergic to. I walked over and handed him the divorce papers. "Ji Shiyan, we..." Before I could even finish the word divorce, I was slapped to the ground. "Gu Qinglan, you have the nerve to come back. I told you to atone for your sins, and you dare to put mice in Yanyan's room." The metallic taste of blood flooded my mouth as I instinctively protested. "I didn't." "Ah." Sun Yanyan lifted her skirt and kicked over my mother's urn. "First, you put rats in my room, and now you're trying to poison me with this powder." The ashes scattered across the ground, mingling with the dirt. I screamed and lunged forward, only to be kicked hard in the chest. The pain felt like it was tearing my insides apart. "Gu Qinglan, you are truly beyond redemption." Ji Shiyan grabbed the urn and smashed it against my head, blood streaming down my face. Mom, Mom." I crawled over, trying to gather my mother's ashes. Chapter 2. Sun Yanyan's dog suddenly darted out and began licking the ashes. "Xiao Guai, that's filthy, don't eat that." Sun Yanyan scooped up the dog and stomped my mother's ashes into the dirt with a few kicks. I frantically clawed at the soil, my hands bloodied and raw, but I couldn't stop. The tears just wouldn't cease. "I'm sorry, Mom, I'm so sorry." My scalp screamed as Ji Shiyan viciously yanked my hair, dragging me across the floor and throwing me into the living room. "Don't think your pathetic act will get you out of your punishment today. Nian Nian, do it, too." Sun Yanyan huddled timidly in Ji Shiyan's arms. "Brother, I don't dare to hit her. What if sister holds a grudge and puts mice in my room again?" Ji Shiyan looked at her with gentle eyes and ruffled her hair. "Nian Nian, you're still too kind-hearted." When he turned his gaze to me, his expression was icy. "Since Nian Nian can't bring herself to do it, you lot will have to." Pointing at the servants in the living room, he ordered, "Each of you will slap her. Don't stop until she's received 99 slaps." The servants exchanged uneasy glances, none daring to step forward. Smack. Ji Shiyan slapped me with all his might. My face immediately swelled up. "Slap them like this. Anyone who doesn't do it within 3 seconds, get out of the Ji family." The servants scrambled forward, each vying to be the first, terrified that their slaps wouldn't be forceful enough to satisfy Ji Shiyan. After the 99th slap, I spat out a mouthful of blood, my gaze fixed on Ji Shiyan, brimming with pure hatred. "Ji Shiyan, you will live to regret this." A flicker of pity flashed in his eyes as he crouched down and gently touched my swollen cheek. "Lon Lon, don't feel wronged. You made a mistake, and you must atone for it." I suddenly grinned, laughing maniacally, laughing until tears streamed down my face. Year after year, a constant longing. How laughable that I only now realize this was a blatant deception. "Atonement." I pointed at her, my voice hoarse with fury. "You're the ones who did wrong. You're the ones who should atone. Ji Shiyan, I will never forgive you. I hate you." A flicker of guilt surfaced in Ji Shiyan's eyes, and he looked away, unable to meet my gaze. Sun Yanyan cradled her finger, her eyes brimming with tears. "Brother Yan, I think a rat bit my finger. It hurts so much." Ji Shiyan held her close, his heart aching. He leaned down and gently blew on the spot. "It doesn't hurt, Nian Nian. Your brother will get revenge for you right away." When his gaze turned to me, it was filled with utter disgust. He looked away and ordered the servants, "Lock her in the cage." I stared at him with empty eyes, letting several people drag me away. Inside a tin cage, a swarm of rats scurried in the darkness, their eyes glowing green as they chittered incessantly. Terror seized my entire body. I struggled desperately to escape, only to find myself locked inside the cage. The next moment, the horde of rats descended upon me, gnawing at my flesh. The searing agony of my flesh being torn apart forced a wretched hell from my throat. Through the only crack, I saw Ji Shiyan pinning Sun Yanyan beneath him, panting heavily. "Brother Yan, come inside." "No, it might hurt the baby. Let me help you." I don't know how long I'd been in the cage, but I was starting to gasp for air, my consciousness fading. The cage door opened, and I was dragged out like a dead dog. A pair of high heels stood right before me, next to the trouser leg, looking at the bloody holes all over my body. Sun Yanyan flashed a triumphant smile. "Brother Ian, doesn't big sister look pathetic now?" Chapter 3. Ji Shiyan hurriedly covered her eyes, then shot me a careless glance. "This is all her retribution." Retribution. The corner of my mouth twitched, and I let out a laugh. "Gu Qinglan, what are you laughing at?" I met Ji Shiyan's scrutinizing gaze calmly and said, word by deliberate word, "My greatest punishment was ever falling for you." Because of my love for him, I lost my parents, lost a child, and was humiliated and trampled by everyone, once the proudest rose of Harbor City. Now I am lower than the weeds. What did you say? Ji Shiyan's face was pale, his eyes filled with disbelief. Sun Yanyan suddenly clutched her lower abdomen and spoke up, Brother Ian, my stomach hurts a little. Ji Shiyan panicked instantly, scooping her up into his arms, and turned to instruct the nanny, go and call the family doctor. Seeing him so frantic, I was suddenly reminded of my first child. It was killed by his father's brutal kicks before it even had a chance to take form. In a daze, I climbed up to the attic, took out the first aid kit, and masochistically poured long-expired alcohol onto the wound, as if only through this self-inflicted torment could I numb the heart-wrenching agony within. Gu Qinglan, you really are a tough one to kill. 3. The click of high heels approached. Sun Yanyan, shedding her usual delicate and gentle facade, wore an expression of undisguised mockery. Who would have thought the once lofty and esteemed Miss Gu would fall to such a state? Without even looking up, I let out a cold laugh. How exhausting it must be, impersonating yourself. Even the child in your belly can't see the light of day. You know everything now, don't you? Sun Yanyan curled the corner of her lips, toying with the diamond ring on her finger. Gu Qinglan, if you had just agreed to make me your bride back then, we wouldn't be in this mess now, would we? First your father died, then your child. I wonder how much longer that sickly mother of yours can hold on. I forgot to mention, Brother Ayen has promised me that my child will be the sole heir to the Ji family. A wave of bitter desolation surged within me. Gritting my teeth, I stood up and spat a mouthful of bloody spittle at her. You'll get what's coming to you. Sun Yanyan raised an eyebrow with nonchalance. Well, I'd like to see just who it is that gets their comeuppance. Footsteps echoed in the distance, and Sun Yanyan suddenly let out a sharp scream. Ah! She stumbled backward, falling into a broad, warm embrace. Gu Qinglan, how dare you push her? When she saw Ji Shiyan, she burst into tears, looking utterly pitiful. Brother Ayen, please don't blame sister. It was my own carelessness. I only came to check on sister's injury. I never expected. Ji Shiyan's breathing grew heavy, his eyes dark with suppressed fury. Gu Qinglan, don't you have anything to say for yourself? Yeah, if this were before, I would have fought tooth and nail to explain myself, to prove my innocence, but now, I just look at him, my eyes as calm and still as a stagnant pond. Even if I explained, would you believe me? Ji Shiyan let out a cold laugh. A woman like you, who lies through her teeth, isn't worth believing. He grabbed me by the hair and dragged me into the stairwell. Hurt Nyen Nyen, and you'll pay the price. As soon as the words were spoken, a heavy kick landed in my abdomen. I tumbled down the stairs and hit the ground hard. A dull ache throbbed in my lower belly, followed by blood trickling down my thigh, pooling into a dark red stain on the floor. The maid nearest to me couldn't help but let out a scream. Madam is bleeding. Chapter 4. A flash of panic crossed Ji Shiyan's eyes as he tried to go downstairs, only to be stopped by Sun Yanyan. Brother Ian, I really envy my sister. She just bleeds a little and someone rushes to comfort her. Not like me and the child, we're just easy targets for anyone to bully. As she spoke, she even shed a couple of tears. Ji Shiyan's heart ached for her, and he immediately pulled her into his embrace. Don't worry, Nyen Nyen, I won't let anyone who hurts you get away with it. When he turned his gaze to me, it was as if he were looking at a lifeless object. Lock her in the basement, let her reflect on her actions. A group of people dragged me like a ragged cloth and threw me into the basement, leaving a long trail of blood on the floor. A cloud of dust rushed at me, making it hard to breathe. I clutched my stomach, feeling the once vibrant life slowly fade away, tears tracing a path down the corners of my eyes. Just like that, my second child was gone. In the basement sat my wedding photos with Ji Shiyan, along with the gifts he had once given me. These proofs of a love that once was now felt bitterly ironic. I struggled to my feet, grabbed a wooden stick, and smashed our wedding photo to pieces before finally blacking out completely. I was jolted awake by a bucket of cold water. Gu Qinglan, you were sleeping quite soundly. I opened my eyes and met Ji Shiyan's grim, dark expression. He threw a maid's uniform on the floor. Tomorrow is Nyen Nyen's birthday. You will wear this and serve her on your knees. A clot of blood was stuck in my throat, rendering me speechless. I could only stare at him numbly. Soon Nyen Nyen was like a spoiled little princess. They had even laid a cashmere carpet on the path leading down to the basement. Clinging to Ji Shiyan's arm, she whined, but sister is so beautiful. If she stands next to me, won't it make me look bad? Ji Shiyan's eyes were filled with adoration. My little princess, is that not simple enough? He had someone bring a small knife and made several cuts across my face. The face that had captivated him countless times was now rendered unrecognizable. Blood gushed out instantly, covering my face. Writhing in agony on the floor, I caught a glimpse of myself in the glass mirror. The sight of that horrifying face made me let out a blood-curdling scream. Are you satisfied now? He threw the knife to the ground, gazing at Sun Yanyan with deep affection. Yanyan, you will always be the most beautiful. Sun Yanyan covered her eyes in fright, but couldn't help giggling. Sis, you look just like a monster right now. I covered my face, crying and laughing at the same time. The agreement was thrown in front of me. Ji Shiyan crouched down and smoothed my disheveled hair. His voice softened, a rare gentleness in his tone. Lon Lon. Just be good and listen, everything will be alright after tomorrow. When the time comes, I'll find the best medical team for your mother. Like a drowning person clutching their last piece of driftwood, I held the agreement tightly to my chest. Ji Shiyan didn't know that my mother had already passed away. There was no longer any need for treatment, and what he thought was a hospital contract was actually the divorce papers I had prepared. I could finally leave. For the next day, a steady stream of guests arrived, dressed in a maid's uniform. I knelt on the floor, staring blankly at the doorway. People passing by would startle at the sight of me, only to then heap scorn upon me once they recovered. What kind of monster is this? It looks absolutely hideous. What a monster. Oh, that's just Mrs. G. Looking that hideous. It's only out of the kindness of President G and Miss Nyan hearts that they'd mercifully let her be a guard dog. Chapter 5. I reckon after today, she won't be Mrs. G anymore. I heard President G is going to make a big announcement. Her father's a criminal, her mother's a whore who caught a filthy disease, and she's a barren hen with a rotten womb. Poor Mr. G, to be saddled with her. Each word was like a poison scimitar, carving bloody gashes across my heart. I curled into myself as tightly as I could, burying my face in the shadows. Miss Nyan is here. Miss Nyan is absolutely stunning. I've never seen this gown before. It must be a custom, limited edition piece from a French master designer. I looked up and met Sun Yanyan's defiant gaze. My breath caught in my throat the moment I saw the dress she was wearing. This dress was left to me by my mother. My voice was hoarse and broken. I struggled to my feet and stumbled towards Sun Yanyan. Ji Shiyan grabbed me and held me back. Gu Qinglan, what do you think you're doing? I stared at him with pure hatred, tears streaming down my face. Ji Shiyan, that's the only thing my mother left me. How could you give it to her? Ji Shiyan's eyes were filled with displeasure. It's just a dress. If Nyan likes it, that's all that matters. I bit down hard on his hand, seizing the moment he recoiled in pain. I grabbed Sun Yanyan's hair. Take off my mother's clothes. Sun Yanyan clutched her chest and screamed, Brother A Yen, save me. A powerful force kicked me in the waist. I fell to the ground in a wretched heap, trembling in pain. The hem of that gown was torn to shreds by Sun Yanyan and thrown at me. Take it back. All of it, Gu Qinglan, you lunatic. You're the one who ruined my birthday party. My hands trembling, I clutched the tattered pieces of the dress as tears fell in a steady stream. I'm sorry, Mom, I'm useless. I couldn't even hold on to the last thing that reminded me of you. The next second, Ji Shiyan grabbed me by the hair and yanked me up. Gu Qinglan, how dare you still try to hurt Nyan at a time like this? Everything would have been fine after today. So why can't you just behave? He let out a bitter, angry laugh and said through gritted teeth, Fine, since you enjoy stripping others, you can go without clothes yourself. He had me stripped completely naked in front of everyone. The camera flashes were blinding. In despair, I shut my eyes, and tears streamed down my face. Throw her out onto the street. Following Ji Shiyan's orders, several bodyguards dragged me out to the street and chained me to a garbage bin with a dog leash. Beside the bin, a few starving beggars stared at me with gleaming eyes. As soon as the bodyguards left, they scrambled over each other to pounce on me, pinning me down. Rough hands roamed over my bare skin, and foul mouths pressed against my neck. I pushed and shoved frantically. Don't touch me. Ji Shiyan will make you pay for this, Mr. G. The lead beggar slapped me hard across the face, leaving it swollen. It was Mr. G who told us to wait for you here. As they spoke, they grabbed my limbs and began to manhandle me into position on the large screen opposite. A live broadcast of Sun Yanyan's birthday banquet was playing. Like a princess, she accepted gifts from everyone. Ji Shiyan knelt on one knee, presenting a South African diamond worth hundreds of millions. Despair consumed me. I forced a smile and closed my eyes. Bang! A gunshot rang out. Warm blood splattered across my face, and a coat was draped over my shoulders. My eyes snapped open, meeting that cold gaze. It's you really came. Chapter 6. At that moment, in the banquet hall, Ji Shiyan's heart gave a sudden, sharp pang. He dialed his assistant's number. Has Gu Qinglan realized her mistake? Bring her back. The voice on the other end of the line trembled, thick with panic. Mr. G. Mrs. Gu isn't at the scene. Only, Ji Shiyan's voice suddenly sharpened. Only what? The assistant said nothing, simply taking a photo of the scene and sending it over. Ji Shurian clicked on the photo without a moment's hesitation, but the moment he saw it clearly, he nearly lost his mind. 5. The photo showed a pool of blood spilled beside the trash can. The beggars were haphazardly stuffed headfirst into the dumpster, their severed limbs discarded nearby. Fear gripped him, Ji Shurian's legs went weak, and he had to brace himself against the wall to keep from falling. He couldn't think of anyone else capable of such a thing besides that man, but how could his Qinglan possibly have provoked them? He wanted to leave the hall full of guests to find her, but Sun Yanyan held him back. Brother Yan, the banquet has just begun. Where are you going? I need to find Lan Lan. Sun Yanyan pouted in grievance, her eyes welling up with tears. But today is my birthday party, you promised me. Shut up. Ji Shurian impatiently brushed her arm away. I made it clear to you long ago. Today, I will tell Lan Lan the whole truth. She will always be my wife, and I will keep every promise I made to you. When he was a child and fell into the river, it was Sun Yanyan who saved him. He had always wanted to make it up to her. She had it all planned out. After today, he would have a proper talk with Gu Qinglan. An accident back then had caused Gu Qinglan to miscarry. The doctor said she would have great difficulty getting pregnant again, and he had carried the guilt ever since. That's why he wanted to give the child Sun Yanyan was carrying to her. Sun Yanyan's eyes reddened with frustration as she gritted her teeth and said, Ji Shurian, if you dare step out that door today, I'll abort this child I'm carrying. She pointed to her belly as if indicating her last bargaining chip, yet Ji Shurian wouldn't even spare a glance, scoffing coldly, without Lan Lan, what on earth is that child in your belly worth? I've been more than generous to you lately. The money I've left you is enough to keep you comfortable for the rest of your life. He raised a finger, pointing at Sun Yanyan, and delivered his final warning. From now on, know your place. For Sun Yanyan, what he felt was more a sense of gratitude, but for Gu Qinglan, it was always a sincere and devoted love. This fact would never change. The area around the garbage dump had been cordoned off with police tape. The detective is conducting a crime scene investigation here. Where is my wife? Ji Shurian's eyes turned red with fury as he lunged forward, only to be intercepted halfway by his assistant. Mr. Ji, please calm down. How can I possibly calm down? Ji Shurian grabbed his assistant by the collar and said through gritted teeth, Didn't I tell you to protect her? The assistant lowered his head, stammering, We don't know what happened either. We just suddenly felt dizzy and passed out. When we woke up, Madam was gone. Upon seeing Ji Shurian, the officer expressed his regret. I'm sorry, Mr. Ji, we still haven't found your wife. However, the fortunate news is that your wife's blood was not detected in the samples collected at the scene. This means there is a high probability she is still alive. Ji Shurian breathed a sigh of relief, only to be immediately overwhelmed by a wave of panic. Chapter 7. Where could Gu Qinglan be now? She had no family in Hong Kong, and her friends were few and far between. Who on earth took her away? What is wrong with these people? He pointed at the group of beggars, his eyes filled with resentment. According to the current investigation, these beggars must have done something to Madame Ji while she was alive. Their hands are covered in a sticky substance. The words were tactfully phrased, yet to Ji Shurian, they struck like a thunderbolt out of the blue. How dare these people covet his woman? They deserve to die. How did these vagrants get into this district? If I recall correctly, this area is under constant security patrol. Lan Lan should have been perfectly safe. The assistant was sweating profusely, his eyes filled with terror. It was Miss Nyan who brought them in. She ordered us to stand down the security detail, saying, What did she say? He said it was to teach the lady a lesson. 6. When he rushed back to the banquet hall, Sun Yanyan was mingling and toasting among the crowd. Seeing Ji Shurian return, a spark of delight flashed in her eyes. Brother Yan, you're finally back. The next second, she was sent flying by a slap. You wretch, why did you send beggars to bully Lan Lan? Sun Yanyan covered her face, weeping pitifully. I didn't. What did my sister say? I don't know what I did to deserve such slander from her. Even now, you're still making excuses. Ji Shurian raised his foot and brought it down on Sun Yanyan's hand, grinding it forcefully. Just moments ago, his assistant had played him the recording of Sun Yanyan contacting the beggar. Having never been treated this way by Ji Shurian before, Sun Yanyan completely broke down, sobbing and screaming hysterically. So what if I did it? It's only because I love you so much. Shurian, Gu Qinglan was the one who tore my clothes off first. What's wrong with me getting back at her? Ayen, I'm carrying your child now. I'm a better match for you than Gu Qinglan. You like me too, don't you? Let's be together properly. She crawled over, trying to cling to Ji Shurian's leg, only to be kicked away. What right do you have to be my wife? Gu Qinglan is the only woman who will ever hold that title in my life. As for you, the debt I owed you was settled long ago. From now on, there is not a shred of connection between us." With that, he turned to leave. Sun Yanyan chased after him, but her foot slipped and she tumbled into the swimming pool. "Help, help," she flailed in the water, desperately reaching her hand upward. Ji Shurian's footsteps halted abruptly as he turned back in disbelief. If Sun Yanyan can't swim, then was it really her who jumped into the river to save him all those years ago? He called his special assistant. "Find out who it was that saved me back then." Ji Shurian rushed to the hospital to find his mother-in-law, but searched every ward to no avail. He stormed into the dean's office and kicked over a table and chairs. "Where's my mother-in-law?" The hospital director wiped his sweat nervously, bowing and scraping before him. "Mr. G, your mother-in-law has passed away. She died by suicide, by cutting her wrists. We tried to call and inform you, but you didn't answer. And your wife, she came personally to claim the body and had it sent to the funeral home." "Impossible." Ji Shurian's face turned deathly pale as he slumped onto the stool. Seeing his disbelief, the hospital director produced the surveillance footage from that time. Chapter 8. Gu Qinglan came to process the death certificate, holding a small box. Upon seeing the video, Ji Shurian's eyes widened in an instant. This box was exactly the same as the one she had brought back then. The memory of the grayish-white powder inside being licked by Sun Yanyan's dog made him gag uncontrollably. When Lan returned that day, her heart was already as cold as ashes. He even had people beat her, lock her in a cage, and ruin her face, but he had already made up his mind. He loved Lanlan's soul and didn't care about her appearance. Besides, those knife scars aren't deep and can be treated. He just wanted to make it up to Sun Yan, that's all. But he seemed to have forgotten that, from start to finish, Gu Qinglan owed her nothing. Overwhelmed with remorse, he buried his face in his hands and broke into loud, wrenching sobs, tears streaming through his fingers. His assistant's call came through. Clutching a sliver of hope, his hand trembled as he answered the call. A sigh escaped the voice on the other end of the line. "Mr. G, we've located the surveillance footage from that year. It wasn't Miss Yanyan who jumped into the river to save you. It was the lady who saved you." 7. I woke up in a 200 square meter bedroom. When I opened my eyes, a resplendent, gilded ceiling was the first thing I saw. The scent washed over me. "You're awake." Lu Ji set down the gun, wiped his hands, and walked to the bedside. Those smiling, peach blossom eyes were both captivating and dangerous. I instinctively pulled the blanket tighter around me. "Who are you, really? The Lu family of the capital. Who do you think I am?" My heart gave a violent jolt. So, he was Lu Ji, the head of the Lu family, the man who struck fear into the hearts of both the underworld and the upper echelons of the capital. Who would have thought that the wounded boy she found in the alley back then had such a background? When he woke up, he gave her a number. "If you ever have any trouble, call this number." But at the time, she just thought the man in front of her was some reckless punk and didn't take it seriously. Seeing me trembling with fear, he patted my head a little awkwardly. "Don't be afraid. As long as I'm here, no one can hurt you." Hearing those words, the unease in my heart finally settled, and I could no longer hold back my sobs. I threw myself into Lu Ji's arms, crying as if to pour out all the grievances I had suffered that entire year. By the end, Lu Ji's face had darkened to the point it looked like it could drip with gloom. The corner of his mouth lifted in a playful smirk. "Little sister, do you want revenge?" I was somewhat shocked and repeated in a whisper, "Little sister." His eyes filled with tenderness as he held me in his arms. "From now on, you are my sister, Lu Ji's sister, and the young lady of the Lu family. Anyone who dares to bully a member of the Lu family deserves to die." Overwhelmed, I hugged him back tightly, calling out "brother" again and again, yet my eyes gradually reddened, as hatred took root and began to grow deep within my heart. "I will have my revenge, for my parents, for the child in my womb, and for myself." Lu Ji hired the world's best doctors to treat my injuries, and they healed my face as well. During my recovery, someone sent jewelry and gifts every day to cheer me up. Even the servants in the villa would address me with a smile as young mistress. Overwhelmed by the kindness, on the day my injury healed, I went to the shooting range where Lu Ji was practicing and brought him a scarf I had knitted myself. When he saw me, he had his men put away the firearms, a gentle smile playing in his eyes. Lan, what brings you out here?" I unfurled the scarf and stood on my tiptoes to wrap it around his neck. Chapter 9. It's getting colder, so I knitted a scarf for you, brother. Lu Ji obligingly bent down. "Thank you, Lan. I love it." As I bent down, our foreheads touched, bringing us close enough to feel each other's breath. I jolted back half a step as if shocked. "Well, if there's nothing else, I should probably get going." I turned to leave, but Lu Ji caught me by the arm. "Don't worry, I'll take you to meet someone." He led me to a secret room in the Lu family manor. Walking all the way to the end, I saw two people. One was Sun Yanyan, and the other, "It's you, you're actually alive." It was Uncle Chen. who had followed my father since childhood. Back then, it was he who produced the evidence when my father was framed, sealing his fate in disgrace. When he saw me, Uncle Chen broke down in tears, weeping uncontrollably. "Miss, save me. It was all this woman, and Ji Shiyan, who forced me to do those things back then. I didn't want to. I've been living with the guilt all these years. I wronged the master." "That's bullshit," Sun Yanyan screamed. "Back then, it was you who wanted to take the money and run. You only cooperated with us for that." She turned to look at me, her eyes filled with terror. "Qinglan, everything that happened in the past was my fault. I'm begging you, for the sake of us growing up together, please make him spare me. My child is gone. I have nothing left now. Please, just let me live." The bodyguard released her hand, and she immediately collapsed to the ground. She then crawled over on her belly, clutched my leg, and began kowtowing frantically. Only then did I realize her shinbone had been shattered. Her entire leg hung limp and useless. Lon Lon. "What do you want to do with her?" Lu Ji held my hand and kicked Sun Yanyan away with a single, forceful blow. I clenched my fist, a wicked smile spreading across my face. "Since Miss Su is so fond of rats, let's lock her up with them." With a wave of Lu Ji's hand, someone immediately seized Sun Yanyan and carved a hole in her stomach. It finally dawned on me. The iron cage he chose for Sun Yanyan was one that could be heated. Once the rats got hot, they would burrow into her belly soon. Piercing shrieks echoed throughout the dungeon. Old Chen was so terrified he wet himself, the stench of urine filling the cell. The nearest bodyguard struck with a swift, clean cut, and the most treasured part of his anatomy fell to the ground. Coming to his senses, Uncle Chen clutched his groin and let out a howl of agony. "Miss, please, have mercy on me. I have proof of your father's innocence. I recorded the whole thing when they forced me to fabricate the evidence back then." My eyes lit up. "If we can prove my father's innocence, he will surely rest in peace as part of the deal." I promised Uncle Chen I wouldn't kill him if he handed over the evidence. After verifying the evidence was intact, I had Uncle Chen released, but he had only taken 2 steps before Lu Ji struck him right in the heart. He wiped his hands, his face full of regret. "What a fool. Lon Lon said not to kill him. I made no such promise." As I looked at the evidence in my hand, my gaze grew resolute. Lu Ji raised an eyebrow. "Lon Lon, you have an idea." I nodded. "I'm going to hold a press conference." A week later, Lu Ji held a press conference in the name of the Lu family. The audience was packed with industry titans. The Lu family hasn't held a press conference in over a decade. What could possibly be happening today? I heard the head of the Lu family has found his long-lost sister. Chapter 10. Don't you think his sister looks just like someone? Who? Ji Shiyan's wife. All eyes instantly turned to Ji Shiyan. He looked utterly exhausted, with a shadow of stubble on his chin, a picture of dishevelment. "How could that be?" he muttered with self-mockery. "How could Lon Lon possibly be Lu Ji's sister?" As he finished speaking, I, dressed in a haute couture gown, was led onto the stage by Lu Ji. "Now, allow me to formally introduce my sister, Gu Qinglan." As soon as these words were spoken, the audience erupted in a commotion. "That's Gu Qinglan. Wasn't her face disfigured? How did she become so beautiful? Isn't she President Ji's wife? How did she become President Lu's sister? What do we do? If she's really from the Lu family, we're finished for how we bullied her before." Ji Shiyan abruptly stood up from his seat and stumbled toward me. "Lon Lon, how could you possibly be Lu Ji's sister?" I ignored him and signaled the bodyguards to restrain him. Then, I took out the USB drive and plugged it in on the large screen behind me. Evidence of my father being slandered instantly appeared. The voices of Ji Shiyan and Sun Yan echoed throughout the entire venue. "Gu Qinglan's greatest reliance is her father. If we can just get that old bastard out of the picture, she'll have no choice but to comply. Brother Yan, you're always the best to me. Nian Nian, you're the woman I love most. I won't let you suffer any injustice." What? It was actually Ji Shiyan who framed President Gu. "You beast, you don't deserve to be called a human." Those who had once helped Ji Shiyan humiliate me immediately switched sides to join me, sensing the shift in power, and together we condemned him. Lu Ji stood on the stage and let out a cold snort. "Today, I'll make you understand exactly who Lanlan's greatest backer is." 9. I ignored the commotion in the room. Step by step, I walked towards Ji Shiyan and threw the evidence in his face. "Ji Shiyan, you framed my father and left him to die a miserable death in prison. He drove my mother to her death, and even scattered her ashes." I thought I could calmly recount Ji Shiyan's sins at this moment, but now, overwhelming grief and injustice have me weeping uncontrollably. "Did you know, I was carrying your child, the child you personally pushed down the stairs to his death. If I had known you would bring ruin to my family, I never should have saved you." I should have let you drown in the river, Lan Lan. It was really you who saved me all those years ago. Ji Shiyan's eyes reddened, his voice growing hoarse. It's all that bitch Sun Yanyan's fault. She stole the credit that was rightfully yours, making me believe all this time that she was the one who saved me, Lan Lan. There's been a misunderstanding between us. Give me another chance. I promise I'll make it up to you properly. Make it up to me. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. Ji Shiyan, there are 4 lives standing between us. Do you really think a flimsy promise of making it up to me can just erase everything? Lu Ji stood before me, a dagger in hand, its blade gleaming menacingly under the lamplight. Ji Shiyan was instantly drenched in cold sweat, dropping to his knees with a thud and clutching my leg. Lan Lan, you know my feelings for you are genuine. It was all Sun Yanyan's doing, stirring up trouble. I would never have treated you that way otherwise. Chapter 11. And I had it all planned from the start. Once Sun Yanyan gives birth, I'll have her child adopted under your name. That way, even if you never have children of your own, you'll have a firm standing in the Ji family. Watching him squirm and make excuses filled me with irritation. I raised my hand and slapped him across the face without a moment's hesitation. Shut up, Ji Shiyan. You are the most hypocritical person I have ever met. Even if you mistakenly thought Sun Yanyan was the one who saved you back then, you had 1,000 other ways to show your gratitude to her. Instead of trampling over the corpse of our Gu family to make amends, our Gu family has never owed you a thing, not from the very beginning. Back then, if my father hadn't found Ji Shiyan in the slums, taken pity on him, and brought him home to raise him as a foster son in the Gu family, even helping him find his birth family, he would have been dead a dozen times over, and in the end, we ended up raising a viper in our bosom. Seeing that I was ignoring him, he turned to Lu Ji instead, forcing a strained smile. Bro, Lan Lan and I aren't divorced yet. I'm still your brother-in-law, Ji Shiyan. We've been divorced for a long time. I had someone bring up the divorce papers and threw them in his face. Take a good look. Every single stroke was written by your own hand. Ji Shiyan flipped through the divorce papers again and again in disbelief. It finally dawned on him. He had signed it without a second thought, mistaking it for a hospital document. To think, this was the divorce agreement I had prepared for him all along. Fear descended upon him like a dark, oppressive cloud. Ji Shiyan's eyes were wide with terror, on the verge of tears. Lan Lan, do you really not love me anymore? Was all the affection we shared over all these years just a lie? You have no idea how worried I've been about you all this time. Seeing the dark circles under his eyes and the weariness all over his face, I believed his worry for me during this time was genuine. So what? I withdrew my hand, looking at him coolly. But Ji Shiyan, all my suffering was caused by you. If not for you, I would still be the eldest daughter of the Gu family, still the proudest red rose in Hong Kong. I still have my friends, and I still have my family, but because of Ji Shiyan's mistaken identity, I lost everything. I raised my hand and wiped the tears from the corner of my eye. From now on, I will not shed a single tear for him. I turned back and looked at Lu Ji. Brother, do it. Lu Ji nodded, and the next second, Ji Shiyan received a phone call. President Ji, it's terrible. The company's stock is plummeting. All our partners have terminated their contracts with us. The Ji Group might go bankrupt. He stared at me in disbelief, his mouth opening and closing without a word, and not a single person who had humiliated me at that banquet was spared. President Wang, the Wang Group has gone bankrupt. President Xiao, the Xiao Group's partners have all pulled out. In an instant, the field was filled with mournful pleas. Everyone knelt and kowtowed, begging me to show mercy, but I just smiled and linked my arm through Lu Ji's. Brother, what are you taking me to eat today? Whatever you want, you little glutton. We were just about to get in the car after leaving the venue. Suddenly, a collective gasp erupted from the crowd behind us. Turning around, I saw that Ji Shiyan had jumped from the building. He lay in a pool of blood, his eyes wide open and fixed on me. Her lips moved, silently repeating the same 3 words. I'm sorry. I pressed a hand to my chest, feeling nothing, then turned and got in the car. From that moment on, I vowed never to look back. The end. That's all for today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe. If you have any suggestions, feel free to leave a comment below. See you in the next video.